Hello and welcome to this class. And in today's class, I'm going to be teaching you how to select data that is inside of a database and how to filter data. Okay, so in the last video, I showed you how to import the AdventureWorks database because that is where our data is contained. And if you can see on the left-hand side here, you find the AdventureWorks table, the database, sorry, and these are the tables inside of the database. These are all of the tables. Okay, so how do we select the data that is inside of the database? Now, first of all, before we proceed, you have to understand that data is stored inside of databases, and you use SQL to retrieve the data that is stored inside of those particular database. And one of the ways to retrieve data that is inside of a database table is by using the select. Okay, so say we want to be looking at selecting data from a table. For that, we are going to be using the select. Now, there are two different ways of selecting data from a table. The first, we have the method where you could select all the records, inside the table. Okay, and this is usually the most basic one. So if the syntax literally is, if I say select with an asterisk here, an asterisk here means everything. Then I say from, then I specify the name of the table where I am getting this data from. Okay, now say for example, I could say select everything from, to specify, I'm going to look for a table here, say let's say person.person table here contains all of the information on the different person table. Okay, so I'm going to select everything from person.person, and then I'm going to highlight this, and then I'm going to execute. Okay, as you can see, it has returned the results for me. So I'm just going to bring this down here. So as you can see, we have 19,972 rows of data. Okay, and then it contains the different customers that are making purchases from this particular business. Okay, so this select star returns everything, and if you hover your mouse on this asterisk, you'll be able to find all of the columns. Okay, so this select star asterisk returns every column and every record that is inside of this particular table. Now, you see, there may be instances where your database, you're working with a large database or a large data set, probably a data set that spans into millions and billions of rows. You may not, because of performance optimization and because of performance considerations, you may not want to return everything. You may want to return only specific columns. So this brings us to the second way of selecting data from a table, which is basically selecting specific columns from table. Okay, now say for example, if we just want to return, let's say we just want to return the first name of a customer. Okay, so we could say select from, then we specify the name where the table is coming from. Okay, whatever it is. So I'm just going to say person, and then I'm just going to select the column name. So let's say in this case that would be the first name. If I highlight this and then execute, can you see that it has only returned the first name column from the person's table? Okay, and then if you want to return maybe some other column, let's say you also want to return the last name, all you just got to do is to add a comma here, and then you highlight and then you execute. As you can see, it has returned the first name and then the last name as well. Okay, if you want to still add other columns further, you say you add another comma. Let's say for example, I saw something like email promotion, so I'm going to highlight this and then execute. So you see it has returned the first name, the last name, and the email promotion. Okay, so this is literally how to select data from a table. Okay, so the select specifies the name of the column, the from specifies the table where these columns are coming from, or where the data is coming from. Okay, so the select specifies the column, and the from specifies the table where these columns or the data is going to come from. Okay, and you see all of these are the tables. You see these are the tables. You see from the image, you can see from the icon, you can see that it's the table. Okay, so yeah, that is how to select data from a table. Okay, so now the next thing that I'm going to walk you through is going to be retrieving data with a where clause. Okay, now you see in SQL the where clause is used to literally filter information. Okay, so see the way we selected all of this information, if there are specific information or if there are specific records. Okay, so if you want to filter information or if you want to filter out data, then we use the where clause. Okay, now the where clause works alongside operators, what we call operators, and predicates. Okay, so it works alongside different operators and different predicates. But first of all, I'm going to show you the syntax of what if you want to filter data using a where clause. Okay, so I'm going to adjust in the comment here. I'm just going to make a comment. So this one comment instead. So I'm just going to say select. So if you want to filter data, so you select the column name from whatever table you're getting it from, and then you say where the column name is equal to whatever value you specify inside of the umbrella. That is how to select your data. You understand? But before we continue, I'd like to just list out some of the predicates and some of the operators. Okay, so we have the logical operators. The where clause works alongside the logical operators. It works alongside the comparison operators. It works alongside the arithmetic operators. Okay, and then for the predicates, we have the in and not. We have the between predicate. We have the like predicate, and so on and so forth. Okay, but first of all, before I continue, I'm just going to show you a basic example of how to use the where clause to filter data. Okay, now let's say for example, let's select everything from the sales order header table. Okay, let me just select everything from this table. Let me just get a hang of what this table looks like. Okay, so the sales order header, that would be this table. It has a couple of columns. These are the columns. Okay, all right, so you see it has sales order ID, it has order date, due date, and so on and so forth. Okay, now let's say for example, so I can see status. Okay, so that is so the status is basically talking about if the shipment or the product has been successfully ordered, if it is still on the way, if it is if it's 5, it would definitely mean that it has completed or whatever it is. But yeah, let's say for example we just want to filter for the orders where the status is equal to 5. Okay, so what we're just going to do is to select everything from the sales order header. Okay, then we see where the status equal to 5. Okay, and then if we highlight this and then we execute, as you can see that it has returned 31,465 rows. These are all the rows where the status is equal to 5. Okay, as you can see, even if I scroll down all the way down, it's gonna be the same thing. These are just the records that has the status equal to 5. Okay, and you see now, let me also show you another example. Let's say for example we have more than one condition that we want to filter for. Let's say for example we want to select everything from the sales order header where the status is equal to 5, and let's say the ship method or ship method ID is equal to 1. Okay, let's say for example 1 means DHL. Okay, let's say 1 means DHL. So this particular so we are looking for the we want to select everything from sales orders header table where the status of the order is completed and this particular shipment was shipped through DHL. So I'm just going to execute this, and then if I execute this, you see we just have 27,659 rows of data. Okay, so when you have multiple conditions in 1 and 4, okay, that are compulsory, okay, you see we have the and, so it means that this must be equal to 5 and this must be equal to 1. So the only results of the conditions, the data that will be returned here are the particular orders that has a status that is equal to 5 and the ship method is equal to 1. Okay, now we also have another way of where we have more than one thing to filter. Okay, let's say for example I'm just going to copy this down. So we have the or operator. Okay, so instead of the and, so we could say where status is equal to 5 or ship method is equal to 1, and then if I execute this, you see it is going to return a larger number of rows, you understand, because this time around we are saying or means that it's going to return for the cases where the status is equal to 5 or the cases where the shipment ID is equal to 1. Okay, so it's going to return a larger number of records. And also for the AND, you could have as multiple conditions, multiple AND conditions as well. So we could also decide to add another AND here. Let's say, for example, and customer ID is equal to, let me see, 1100. Like this. Okay, let me see if this is going to work. I'm going to execute this. Perfect. Okay, so as you can see, this is for the same customer. Okay, so this customer meets all of the conditions. Okay, so this is this customer, this query that is returned here is returning everything from the sales order header table where the status is equal to 5. You see all of these, the status is equal to 5, and then the ship method ID. So I'm going to look for the ship method ID. Okay, I'm not seeing it here. I'm not seeing it here. Okay, this is ship method ID equal to 1, and then the customer ID is equal to this particular customer. Okay, so all of these conditions were checked. That is why we return. As you can see, it's the same customer literally, but that particular customer purchased different orders. As you can see, it was on different dates and it was shipped on different dates. Okay, so yeah, that is literally what it is. Okay, so this is for using the logical operators first of all. Sorry, the logical operators. Okay, so for the next one, we'll see comparison.